You hear many crime stories around, but I'm sure none of them are like this one. He was the boogeyman of Anchorage. Today we're exploring the case of a prolific serial killer who operated in the 1970s and 80s in Alaska. No one suspected the double life he led, or that he could commit such elaborate and depraved crimes, allowing him to go uncaught for over a decade. Today, we're talking about Robert Hansen. We called him the Butcher Baker because that's what he did. He butchered those poor souls and he left them out there in the wilderness. Hansen's story isn't just about the man, it's about the shadows he cast, the lives he took. Please take a moment to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating stories like these. Robert Hansen was born in 1939 in Esterville, Iowa. His father, a Danish immigrant, owned a bakery and was known to be a strict disciplinarian. Hansen's childhood was challenging. He spent long hours working in the family bakery from a young age. Despite being naturally left-handed, he was forced to use his right hand, resulting in a lifelong stutter. As a teenager, Hansen faced difficulties with shyness, acne, and bullying due to his stutter. He was often ostracized by his peers, leading to feelings of resentment, particularly towards the girls who rejected him. To cope with his isolation, he turned to hunting and archery, finding solace in fantasies of revenge against those who had spurned him. This led him to become an avid game hunter, channeling his anger and fantasies into stalking animals. In 1957, at 18 years old, Hansen joined the United States Army Reserve, seeking to leave behind his troubled past. However, his criminal tendencies resurfaced, leading to his discharge. Despite this setback, Hansen continued to struggle with his mental health, evident through convictions for arson and theft. Regardless of all these incidents, he managed to maintain a facade of normalcy, marrying a woman named Paula in 1960. Despite appearing normal, dark impulses brewed beneath Hansen's surface. He always fantasized about hurting the cruel girls at his school, whom he grew up to fiercely hate for their constant dismissal of him. In 1960, on December 7th, Robert took his much-desired revenge on his loathsome high school by burning down a Pocahontas County school bus garage. He was arrested for arson and served 20 months of his 3-year sentence. He had only just gotten married in the summer of 1960, but while he was in prison, Paula filed for divorce. During that prison stint, Hansen was diagnosed with manic depressive disorder, later identified as bipolar disorder, along with occasional schizophrenic episodes. The psychiatrist who diagnosed him also said that he believed Robert had an infantile personality, a disorder which is often characterized by a desire for control and domination through making those he targeted suffer. Robert was obsessed with getting vengeance on the people he believed had wronged him, a twisted preoccupation that would later lead him down a dark and disturbed path. In 1967, Robert remarried Darla Hansen, who was a devout Christian woman and teacher. For a while, this relationship appeared to be a turning point in his life, though he was arrested a few times for petty theft. The couple eventually moved to Anchorage, Alaska, where Robert opened and operated his own bakery. Following in his father's footsteps, Robert and Darla expanded their family and welcomed 2 children while they settled into the Anchorage community. Reportedly, Robert was popular among his neighbors as he was seen as unassuming and shy, if a bit awkward around women. He became especially well-liked because he thrived among the hunting community and even set several local records for his hunting achievements. Robert appeared in a hunting magazine for his prowess. He even achieved a world record for killing the biggest Dall sheep ever with a bow. But who knew the true horrific reality behind all this? In the 1924 short story, The Most Dangerous Game, the main character, bored with trapping animals, lures a big game hunter to his island and hunts him for sport. Ever since the story was published, the idea of humans hunting humans has captivated people. Hansen's crimes were also similar to that. He would abduct women and then take them to a remote location, akin to an island where he played a horrific game of cat and mouse with them. He later stated that he would let them live if they submitted to his sexual fantasies. The ones who didn't were raped anyway, then stripped naked and set loose in the wilderness. For a moment, they'd have hope that there was a chance to escape. Then, as they ran for their lives, he would track them down, taking his time, hunting them like wild animals. armed with a hunting knife and a 223 caliber Ruger Mini 14 rifle. He'd torture the women with this chase for hours or sometimes days at a time until he located his prey and shot them. After finally killing his victims, he would take pieces of jewelry from them as trophies and bury the bodies in the area, marking the burial sites on a map. Some victims were also assaulted with the handles of hammers and broomsticks. On a seemingly ordinary day on June 13, 1983, when a young woman was seen running barefoot and handcuffed down a main street, fleeing for her life in Anchorage, Alaska. It was 17-year-old Cindy Paulson. Cindy had come to Anchorage with her boyfriend to make money working as a prostitute and dancer. After an investigation, it was found that, on June 13, 1983, Robert pulled up his car along the side of the road where Cindy stood and offered her $200 to get into the vehicle with him. Though she hesitated, knowing better than to trust a strange man wanting to take her somewhere, Cindy eventually got in. However, in an instant, Cindy realized her gut feeling had been right. Robert immediately pulled out a gun and forced her into handcuffs. Under the threat of being shot, Cindy cooperated as Robert drove her to his home in Muldoon. Once at the house, Robert chained Cindy up by her neck in his basement and proceeded to torture and assault her and even took a nap beside her. When Hansen woke up, he took her to Merrill Field Airport, planning to fly her to his remote cabin. He warned her not to move or he would shoot her. But when he turned his back, Cindy saw her opportunity to escape and took it. She cleverly hid her blue sneakers in the car's back seat to leave evidence of her abduction. Barefoot and handcuffed, she ran for the nearest street. After fleeing Hansen's vehicle, she managed to flag down a passing truck for help. The driver, shocked by her distressed state, helped and drove her to safety. Despite being traumatized, Cindy found the strength to seek refuge at a nearby inn, where she pleaded with the clerk to contact her boyfriend and the authorities. The police eventually located her. Cindy described what had happened to her, told the police that Robert Hansen had taken her, described his car, house, and gun, and even showed them the plane that Robert had planned to take. Despite all these specific details, the police were skeptical of her story. After Cindy's testimony, the police intensified their investigation, leading to Hansen's arrest. Subsequent evidence linked him to numerous murders as troopers began to find the bodies of several missing sex workers and dancers in the nearby area. A seemingly ordinary man and respected business owner known for his prowess as a bow hunter, he was, in fact, a psychopathic murderer whose primary targets were sex workers and exotic dancers. He would abduct these women and transport them, either by car or by flying them in his private bush plane, to his cabin in the remote Alaskan wilderness. If the women did not resist, he would rape them and then return them to town, coercing them into silence. However, those who resisted faced a truly horrific fate. He would play hunt with them. Faced with the evidence in 1984, Hansen confessed to the murders of 17 women and the rape of another 30 women over a span of 12 years. As a result, he was sentenced to 461 years in prison plus life, without the possibility of parole. Hansen passed away in 2014 while serving his sentence. Despite his cooperation in locating victims' bodies, some of whom remain undiscovered, Hansen's true body count may never be known. This incident truly shocked everyone and instilled fear in the community. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to click the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Until next time, stay cautious and remain vigilant.